2:15 in the morning, March 17th, 1945, Bavaria, Germany. Sergeant Vincent Kovacs crouched in shadows outside Stalag 7A's administration block, gripping a combat knife with a blade no longer than his palm. 9 SS guards patrolled the perimeter between him and intelligence documents that could save 4,000 Allied prisoners. Documents proving the location of 3 undiscovered extermination facilities the Germans had not destroyed yet. In the next 90 seconds, that knife would drop every single guard without a gunshot, without a scream. By dawn, British pathologists would examine the bodies and discover something that would rewrite close quarters combat doctrine for the next 8 decades. Wounds that looked minor but caused catastrophic internal bleeding. Vascular injuries delivered with surgical precision. Cuts designed to kill in under 2 minutes without the thrashing that alerted nearby sentries. But Vincent had not learned to kill silently in any military training program. He had learned it 14 years earlier in the basement of his uncle's butcher shop in Cleveland's Hungarian Quarter, where a 12-year-old boy discovered that the fastest way to process livestock was to sever blood vessels in very specific ways. And once you understood mammalian anatomy, the technique transferred to any warm-blooded creature that stood on 2 legs or 4. This is his story. Summer heat pressed down on Cleveland like a physical weight. 1925. The city choked on steel mill smoke and the Cuyahoga River ran orange with industrial waste. Inside Stefan Kovacs' meat market on East 65th Street, the temperature felt like standing next to the sun itself. Vincent Kovacs stood in the doorway, 11 years old, watching his uncle work. Stefan was 51 that summer. Massive hands scarred by decades of knife work, back bent from years of heavy labor. But when those hands moved, they moved like a surgeon's, precise, deliberate, beautiful in their economy. You're going to stand there all day. Stefan spoke Hungarian, the language of their family, the language of the old country they had fled. Are you going to learn something? Vincent stepped inside. Heat hit him like walking into flames, made his eyes water, made breathing difficult. The smell overwhelmed him, copper and salt and the sweet rot of fat rendering. Blood pooled in channels carved into concrete floors. Meat hung on hooks like strange fruit. What are you making, Uncle Stefan Kolbas? Stefan lifted a cut with practiced hands, examined it against light streaming through the doorway. Hungarian sausage. Your grandmother's recipe, same way they made it in Budapest 300 years ago. He set the meat back on the table, wiped his hands on an apron permanently stained gray and brown. You know why I asked your father to send you here to learn precision? To understand that life and death live in the same space, that the difference between feeding a family and wasting an animal is knowledge. Over the next 7 summers, Vincent learned what Stefan meant. Learned that butchery was not about strength or speed. It was about understanding anatomy so completely that your hands moved without conscious thought. Knowing where every artery ran, how muscle groups connected, which cuts bled fast and which bled slow. By age 12, Stefan had him in the back room learning the real work. You do not hack. Stefan demonstrated on a hanging beef carcass. His movements were economical, almost beautiful. You find the seam, you follow the blood, you cut what needs cutting. Nothing extra. The boy learned fast, found he had a natural feel for it. His hands were smaller than Stefan's, but steadier, more delicate. He could process a hog in 8 minutes by age 14. Could break down a steer in under an hour. Could feel the resistance change in his blade when he hit different tissue densities. Good hands, Stefan said one evening. Summer 1928, Vincent was 14, steady. Most men get squeamish around blood. You do not. Vincent did not. He found the work honest. You killed the animal clean, quick, professional. You used every part, wasted nothing, charged fair prices. There was logic to it. A geometry of flesh and bone and blood that made sense when nothing else in the world did. But it was not until summer 1929 that Stefan told him the truth. They were cleaning up after closing. Late night, just the two of them. Stefan had been drinking, which he rarely did. So, you think I learned this in Budapest? Stefan's voice was quiet, bitter. I learned it in France, 1917. I was medic for Austro-Hungarian army. Vincent stopped scrubbing, looked at his uncle with new eyes. You know what medics do in trenches? Stefan stared at his hands like they belonged to someone else. We save men who can be saved. and we end suffering for men who cannot. Quick, quiet, so they do not scream and give away our position. He showed Vincent his discharge papers. Medical Corpsman, Austro-Hungarian Empire, 1914 through 1918. 4 years in hell. 4 years watching men drown in mud and bleed out in shell holes and die screaming for mothers who were 1,000 miles away. I taught 50 soldiers how to kill silently. Stefan's hands were shaking slightly. Officers asked me to. We needed men who could slip into enemy trenches at night, cut throats without alerting sentries. I showed them which arteries to sever, which angles work best, how to drop a man in seconds without noise. Why are you telling me this? Stefan looked at him directly. Because I wanted someone to know the truth before I die. I came to America to forget the war, to use these skills for honest work. But the knowledge does not go away. Same anatomy, same precision, just different targets. He paused, seemed to be deciding something. I taught 50 soldiers. Those 50 soldiers killed 300 Germans. Clean, silent, professional, just like I taught them. 300 men died because I understood anatomy. Stefan's eyes were wet now. Am I saint or devil, Vincent? I saved Allied soldiers with that knowledge, but 300 Germans died. Young men, fathers, sons, they died because I knew where to cut. So tell me, am I healer or murderer? Vincent had no answer. Not then, not ever. Some questions lived in the space between right and wrong. Some knowledge carried weight that never lifted. This stays between us. Stefan's voice was firm. Your father does not know. Your mother does not know. Nobody knows. I am telling you because you have the hands, the feel. If war comes again, and everyone says it will, you will need to know these things. Over the next 3 years, Stefan taught him everything, not just butchery, but anatomy, physiology, the vascular geography of mammals, human and otherwise. How blood flowed through the body, where the major vessels ran, how to interrupt that flow with surgical precision. By age 17, Vincent could look at a body and see the invisible map beneath the skin, could identify femoral arteries and carotid vessels and subclavian routes without cutting, could calculate exactly where to place a blade for maximum effect with minimum sound. He never imagined he would use that knowledge on anything but livestock. September 1931. 3 men, late night after closing. Stefan in the office counting the week's receipts. Vincent in the back scraping down the cutting tables. 17 years old, thinking about girls and baseball and whether he would ever own the shop someday. He heard Stefan's voice rise, heard impact of something heavy against the office wall, his uncle's grunt of pain. Vincent moved without thinking, grabbed the boning knife from the sink where he had been cleaning it. 6 inches of flexible steel, thin enough to slide between ribs, sharp enough to split a hair. Found the first robber going through the register. The man turned, saw a skinny 17-year-old holding a knife, laughed. Kid, put that down before you hurt yourself. Vincent drove the blade into the man's femoral artery with the same precise angle he would use on a hanging carcass. The technique Stefan had taught him, the one that came from French trenches. Felt the resistance change. The slight pop as steel parted vessel wall. Stepped back. The robber looked confused. Looked down at his leg where a thin line of blood was appearing through his trousers. Nothing dramatic, nothing like the movies, just a small cut that did not seem serious. He opened his mouth to shout, to threaten, to do something, but his legs went out from under him. He sat down hard on the floor. His face went pale. His hands fumbled at the wound but could not seem to understand what was happening. Within 90 seconds, his skin had gone gray. Within 2 minutes, he was unconscious. Within 3, he was dead from hemorrhagic shock. Blood pressure dropped so low his brain stopped receiving oxygen. Clean, professional, exactly as Stefan had taught. The other 2 ran. Vincent stood there. Knife dripping, first human blood on his hands. It looked the same as pig blood, smelled the same, felt the same on his skin, warm, sticky, metallic. But somehow knowing it came from a person changed everything. Stefan found him standing there, looked at the dead robber, looked at Vincent, put his hand on the boy's shoulder. You protected family. That is what men do. You did it clean. Professional, no suffering. That matters. The police called it self-defense. Textbook case. Kid protecting his uncle from armed robbery. No charges filed. Case closed within a week. The newspapers did not even cover it. Just another robbery in the Hungarian Quarter. Just another dead criminal nobody would miss. But Vincent never forgot. The way the man had looked confused before dying. The way he had sat down like he was just tired. The way life had left through a cut so small, you could barely see it. Stefan's lessons had worked exactly as described. Knowledge transferred from livestock to human with perfect fidelity. He went back to work the next morning, processed 3 hogs and a beef, washed the blood off his hands, went home for dinner, never talked about it. But he knew now, knew what Stefan had known in the trenches, that the same skills that fed families could end lives. That precision was precision, whether the target was cattle or human. That once you understood the architecture, the application was just geometry and timing. The Depression hit Cleveland like a hammer, steel mills closed. The river caught fire, men stood in bread lines looking hollow. Vincent kept working the shop because people always needed to eat even when money was tight. Stefan started extending credit to neighbors, taking chickens and vegetables in trade, keeping the community fed through the lean years. That was when Vincent met Michael Walsh. Mickey, Irish kid from 2 blocks over. Born December 1915. 18 months younger than Vincent, but bigger, louder, more reckless. Where Vincent was quiet and precise, Mickey was all energy and enthusiasm. Where Vincent thought 3 moves ahead, Mickey acted on instinct and apologized later. Mickey's father worked the same Republic steel furnaces as Vincent's father. Both families bled the same industrial blood. Both understood what it meant to break your body for wages that barely covered rent. Mickey started hanging around the shop in 1932. Stefan put him to work, taught him some basic knife skills, though Mickey never had the patience for real butchery. But he could haul meat, could work the counter, could charm customers in ways quiet Vincent never could. The boys became inseparable, worked together, drank together when old enough, talked about futures that seemed limitless back when they were young and the world was still mostly at peace. "You got magic hands," Mickey said one night. 1939. They were 25 and 23, drinking cheap whiskey behind the shop after closing. "I have watched you break down a steer. It is like surgery, like you can see inside the animal before you even cut. It is just practice." "No," Mickey shook his head. "It is talent. You understand things about anatomy most doctors do not know. That is not practice. That is gift." Vincent did not respond, did not mention Stefan's World War I stories, did not mention the 50 soldiers, did not mention that the gift was really knowledge of how to interrupt life systems efficiently. Some things Mickey did not need to know. December 7th, 1941, Sunday afternoon. Vincent and Mickey were at the Walsh house listening to the radio, football game. Browns playing somebody. They had been drinking beer and arguing about whether Mickey should enlist or wait for the draft. Then the announcement cut through at 1:38 in the afternoon. Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. Heavy casualties. Declarations of war imminent. Mickey looked at Vincent. "We are going." Vincent nodded. No discussion needed, no debate. They enlisted together December 9th. Walked into the recruiting station on Superior Street. Took the oath together. Became property of the United States Army on the same day. At the train station, Stefan pulled Vincent aside. Away from crowds, away from families crying and fathers standing silent. "Your father does not know what I taught you." Stefan's grip on Vincent's shoulders was strong. "Does not know about the war. Does not know about the 50 soldiers. But you know, and I am telling you now because I will not be here when you come back. Do not say that. I am 67. I am tired." Stefan's eyes were wet. "Whatever happens over there, you remember. The knowledge is not evil. The man using it chooses good or evil. You use it to protect brothers. You use it to end things quickly when there is no other choice. You never use it for anything else." You understand. Vincent understood. Carried Stefan's lessons with him to Fort Benning, to OSS training, to Europe, to every dark night where silence meant survival and mistakes meant death. The army did not know what to do with Vincent and Mickey initially. Both were too old for regular infantry preference at 27 and 25, too working class for officer training. But Vincent spoke Hungarian and enough German from the neighborhood. Mickey spoke passable Polish. Both could read maps. Both stayed calm under pressure. OSS recruited them in summer 1942, Office of Strategic Services, the Shadow War, intelligence work, operations behind enemy lines where regular soldiers could not go. They trained at facilities whose locations they never learned codes and signals, map reading, how to move through enemy territory without being detected, how to extract information, how to kill when killing was necessary. The OSS issued them standard combat knives, Fairbairn Sykes fighting knives, 7 inches, double-edged, designed by British commandos for silent killing. Vincent tried it twice, found it clumsy. The blade was too rigid, the grip wrong for the kind of precision work he understood. "It is designed for stabbing," he told the instructor. "I do not stab, I cut." They requisitioned him a Marine Corps KA bar instead. 7-inch blade, single edge, flexible enough to feel what you were cutting. Vincent modified the grip with electrical tape until it fit his hand the way Stefan's boning knife had fit. Kept the edge sharp enough to shave with. Mickey watched him work. "You planning to use that for more than opening ration cans if I need to? You know how to kill with it, like actually kill someone?" Vincent thought about the robber. Thought about Stefan's 50 soldiers. "Stefan taught me a few things." Mickey grinned. "I knew there was more to that butcher shop than meat." They deployed to England in January 1943. The invasion was coming. Everyone knew it. Just a matter of when and where. Vincent and Mickey ran reconnaissance operations across the Channel, gathering intelligence, mapping German positions, identifying targets. Vincent's first kill happened June 15, 1943, behind German lines. Night patrol, German sentry walking alone through woods. Vincent approached from behind using techniques Stefan had taught, not military tactics, butcher's knowledge. The KA bar went into the man's subclavian artery beneath the clavicle. Vincent's hand over the sentry's mouth, felt the resistance change as steel parted tissue, felt warmth against his knuckles as blood pressure released. The German's body went rigid for 3 seconds, then relaxed. Vincent lowered him silently to the ground. 23 seconds from approach to completion. No noise, no struggle, professional. Mickey appeared beside him. "Holy Christ, you just..." Vincent wiped the blade clean. "Keep moving." "No," Mickey's voice was sharp. "That was surgical. How did you learn that Stefan taught me anatomy?" Vincent's voice was flat. "Helps when processing livestock. Turns out it transfers." Over the next year, Vincent killed 4 more, each time using Stefan's method. Femoral artery in the legs, carotid in the neck, subclavian when he could reach it. Cuts that bled fast and quiet, that dropped men in seconds without the thrashing that alerted nearby sentries. German intelligence started noticing. Reports filtered up through Wehrmacht medical officers. Bodies found with narrow incisions, minimal surface damage, but massive internal bleeding that killed in under 2 minutes. They speculated about Allied operatives using advanced surgical techniques, medical assassins, specially trained commandos. They never considered the technique came from a butcher shop in Cleveland, that the man killing their soldiers had learned on pigs and cattle long before anyone taught him to fight. June 8, 1944. The mission went wrong because someone talked. Intelligence said German patrol patterns were predictable. That infiltration route was clear. Intelligence was catastrophically wrong. The ambush hit them 2 miles inside German lines. Machine gun fire from 3 positions. Vincent, Mickey, and 1 other operative. The 3rd man died in the first 30 seconds. Mickey took shrapnel in the leg, went down hard. Vincent dragged him behind a fallen tree. Pressure on the wound. Mickey's blood hot against his hands. Just like the robber. Just like the livestock. Same color, same smell. But this was Mickey, his brother. "Go." Mickey's voice was tight with pain. "Get out, I will cover, not leaving you." German voices shouting. Getting closer, flashlights sweeping. They had maybe 30 seconds. Vincent made the decision that would haunt him the rest of his life. He ran, left Mickey wounded behind that tree, because two men could not move fast enough and one had a chance. He heard Mickey start firing, heard the return fire, then heard Mickey scream, not pain, anger, defiance, then silence that meant something terrible and final. Vincent reached British lines at dawn, covered in Mickey's blood, reported what happened, requested immediate rescue mission. Too risky, the OSS commander said. Too deep in German territory. Too much risk for one man. He is not just one man. Vincent's voice was shaking. He is my brother. He is one operative. The math does not work. 2 days later, Vincent snuck back across German lines alone, against orders, tracked to where the ambush had happened. Mickey was still there. The Germans had left him. They had executed him. Multiple stab wounds, brutal, sloppy, everything Stefan had taught against. Mickey had died screaming, died suffering, died the wrong way. Vincent knelt beside his brother's corpse, touched the wounds, counted them. 14 separate cuts. None of them clean, none of them precise. Whoever killed Mickey did not know anatomy, did not know the quick ways, had just hacked and stabbed until Mickey stopped moving. Rage built in Vincent that was cold and precise. The kind that plans, the kind that remembers, the kind Stefan had warned about. You never use it for revenge, Stefan had said. You use it to protect, to end suffering, not to cause it. But Mickey was dead, and someone had made him suffer. And Vincent had the skills to find them and make sure they never made anyone else suffer that way. Over the next 2 weeks, Vincent hunted, used intelligence reports, used captured documents, used informants, found the German unit that had been in that sector June 8th, found 3 soldiers who had been part of the patrol that caught Mickey. June 15th, first target, German corporal, alone in a barn. Vincent used Stefan's method, clean, fast, no suffering. Femoral artery, the man died confused but not in pain, 90 seconds from cut to unconsciousness. June 19th, second target, German sergeant, night patrol. Vincent found him smoking behind a supply depot. Subclavian artery. The man barely had time to register surprise. 45 seconds from cut to death. June 24th, third target. The one who had Mickey's blood on his uniform when intelligence photographed the unit 3 days after. Vincent took longer with this one. Not torture, but not quick either. Made sure the man knew why this was happening. Made sure he understood it was payment for Mickey. Carotid artery, but shallow cut, slow bleed. The German had maybe 3 minutes of consciousness. Vincent stayed with him. Watched him die. Made it personal. Then Vincent went back to British lines. Filed reports about successful reconnaissance operations. Said nothing about the 3 Germans. OSS commanders noted improved intelligence gathering. Gave him commendations. Never knew he had been settling accounts for his brother. By March 1945, Vincent had killed 23 Germans using techniques learned in Stefan's shop. Each time leaving Wehrmacht officers confused about how Allied operatives were eliminating their soldiers with such precision. And each time carrying Mickey's memory. Using Stefan's knowledge. Applying skills learned on livestock to protect brothers who could not protect themselves. The OSS wanted one more mission. Something bigger. Something that would require every bit of knowledge Stefan had taught and every hour Vincent had practiced. They wanted him to infiltrate Stalag 7A, kill 9 guards, retrieve documents that could save thousands. Vincent said yes. For Stefan, for Mickey, for all the men who died wrong when dying right was possible. He spent 2 weeks preparing, studying reconnaissance photos, memorizing guard positions, calculating approach angles, timing himself on practice courses. March 16, 1945. The OSS inserted him 6 miles north of Stalag 7A after dark. He moved through forest carrying nothing but the KA bar, a suppressed well-rod pistol for emergencies, and canvas satchel for documents. Reached the perimeter at 1:45 in the morning. Settled into tree line. Watched guard rotation for 30 minutes. Confirmed patterns matched reconnaissance reports. 9 guards. 3 on western fence. 2 at administration building entrance. 4 patrolling interior compound. Searchlights swept perimeter every 40 seconds. Guard positions overlapped. If one fell, others would see within 10 seconds, unless they all fell within the same 10 seconds. Vincent waited, felt the weight of the KA bar, Stefan's lessons in his hands, Mickey's memory in his heart. 14 German soldiers already dead from this knowledge, 9 more about to join them. And after that evidence that would help hang 12 SS officers at Nuremberg. The mission was not just infiltration, it was test. Could Stefan's butcher shop technique really work on 9 simultaneous targets? Could 14 years of training and 14 months of combat experience combine for one perfect 90 seconds? Could knowledge that began with livestock end with saving thousands? Vincent was about to find out. The searchlight passed. He moved into darkness, toward 9 guards who did not yet know they were already dead, toward documents that would change history, toward the moment when a Cleveland butcher's apprentice would prove that sometimes the oldest skills are the deadliest skills, and that the difference between saint and devil is not the knowledge itself, but how you choose to use it. The searchlight swept past. Vincent moved, low and fast through darkness, 40 feet from tree line to perimeter fence, 18 seconds. The fence was 10 feet of chain link topped with barbed wire. He climbed, felt the wire tear through his jacket, through his skin. Minor. Acceptable. Pain was information. Information could be processed later. He dropped inside the compound. First guard was 20 feet ahead, rifle slung over shoulder. Smoking, profile presented. Perfect first target if Vincent could reach him before being seen. He moved using shadows cast by the searchlight tower, using blind spots he had memorized from reconnaissance photos. Close distance to 10 feet, 5 feet, 3 feet. Could smell the tobacco smoke now. Could hear the guard humming something. A German song, something from home. The guard turned, some animal instinct sensing movement. Too late. Vincent's left hand clamped over the guard's mouth. The KA bar came up in his right hand. Blade angled 30 degrees from horizontal, drove into the subclavian artery beneath the man's clavicle. Felt the resistance change as steel parted tissue. Felt warmth against his knuckles as blood pressure released. The German's body went rigid, eyes wide with confusion. Not understanding yet what was happening, Vincent held him upright for 3 seconds while blood pressure dropped, then lowered him silently to ground. The cigarette was still lit. Vincent crushed it under his boot. 7 seconds elapsed since fence crossing. 8 guards remaining, Stefan's voice in his head. Clean, professional. No anger, just technique. Vincent moved toward the second guard, 15 yards east, younger, nervous, shifting weight foot to foot, left-handed, rifle positioned wrong for quick response. These details mattered. These details were the difference between success and failure, between silence and alarm, between life and death. He came from the young guard's right side. The KA bar went into the femoral artery. Single draw cut, starting at inner thigh, pulling toward hip. Massive hemorrhage. Stefan's signature technique. The one that killed the robber. The one Vincent had perfected on 14 Germans before tonight. The guard opened his mouth to scream. Vincent's hand was already there, crushing windpipe before sound emerged. Felt the man's legs collapse. Lowered him. Moved. 14 seconds total. 7 guards remaining. The third guard on fence line stood near storage shed, sheltered from wind, facing partly toward Vincent. Impossible to approach from behind without being seen. This required different geometry, different thinking. Vincent picked up a stone, threw it 10 feet to the guard's left. Classic misdirection. The man's head snapped toward sound. Muscle memory training, exactly what Vincent needed. The moment the guard's eyes tracked the sound, Vincent closed distance, came from the right. The KA bar entered below the ear, angled down and forward, severing carotid artery and jugular veins simultaneously. Catastrophic blood loss. The guard's hands came up, fumbling, already losing coordination. Vincent caught him under arms, guided him down, could feel the man's life leaving, could feel the exact moment consciousness ended. 22 seconds. 6 guards remaining. The searchlight was sweeping back. Vincent pressed flat against the storage shed, counting seconds, controlling his breathing. Heart rate elevated but manageable. Adrenaline present but not overwhelming. This was work, specialized work, the kind Stefan had prepared him for without ever saying the words. The light passed, he moved toward administration building, two guards at entrance, 30 feet apart, facing outward, in him. Both carried MP-40 submachine guns at low ready. Both had clear sight lines of each other. Professional, alert, dangerous. Vincent could not take them sequentially. If one went down, the other would see. He needed both incapacitated within 2 seconds of each other. His mind calculated angles, timing, distances, physics of movement, geometry of attack. The searchlight was 40 seconds from next pass. The guards were not talking, just watching. Professionals who took their jobs seriously, men who would not die easy, men who deserved respect even as Vincent prepared to kill them. His hand closed on the KA bar grip, Stefan's electrical tape modification rough against his palm, familiar, comforting in its familiarity. He moved from shadows at dead sprint. No stealth now, pure speed. Distance closed in 3 seconds, faster than human reaction time when target is not expecting frontal assault. First guard's eyes widened, started to bring the MP-40 up, started to shout warning. Vincent's blade was already moving, drove into femoral artery with enough force to sever it completely, felt edge scrape bone, ripping the knife free, pivoted. Second guard was turning, beginning to shout. Vincent covered 6 feet before the sound fully formed. The KA bar came up in underhand arc, entering beneath sternum, angling upward, searching for descending aorta. Stefan had taught him this cut on cattle, where the great vessels met, where life could be ended in seconds if you knew the anatomy. Found it. The guard's shout cut off mid-syllable, blood pressure dropping too fast to sustain consciousness. Both guards collapsed within 3 seconds of each other. Vincent caught the second man's MP-40 before it hit ground. The clatter would bring interior patrol, would alert remaining guards, would compress timeline. 38 seconds total. 4 guards remaining. But movement at the building's corner caught his eye. Figure emerging from shadows. German officer uniform. Hauptmann insignia visible even in moonlight. The man stopped. Saw Vincent. Saw the 2 dead guards. Saw the KA bar still wet with blood. Recognition flashed across his face. Not surprise. Something else. Something like satisfaction. You. The German's voice was quiet, almost conversational. English with heavy accent but clear. The butcher from Cleveland. I knew you would attempt something significant eventually. Did not expect this scale. Vincent raised the MP-40, finger on trigger. The German raised his hands, but he was smiling. Actually smiling. You cannot shoot. That alerts compound. Your mission requires silence. But I can shout, can raise alarm right now unless you use your knife, which means getting close, which gives me time to alert others. Stalemate, 42 seconds elapsed, 4 guards remaining somewhere in compound. And now this German officer between Vincent and his objective. Between mission success and catastrophic failure, what do you want to watch you work? The German's smile widened. I am Hauptmann Otto Richter, Abwehr Intelligence. I have studied your technique for 9 months, analyzed 14 kills, built complete profile, but never seen you operate in real time. This is opportunity for observation, for learning. You are insane. I am scientist. You are most effective silent killer allies have produced. Your technique will change warfare. I want to document it, understand it, perhaps teach it to our own operatives. Vincent's mind raced. 45 seconds, mission compromised, German hunter standing in his path. 4 guards still unaccounted for, documents still uncaptured. Every second that passed increased probability of failure, of alarm, of death. Step aside or I shoot. An alert Garrison Richter shook his head. No, I have better proposal. I remain silent. I observe. You complete your mission. Afterward, you leave Germany with your intelligence. And I leave with my observations of your technique. Mutual benefit. Why would you help Allied operative? Because war is ending. Germany has lost. I am not fool. But knowledge survives war. Your technique will outlive Third Reich. I want to ensure it is properly documented, studied, preserved. That requires you succeeding tonight. Vincent had no choice. No time. 48 seconds. Four guards unalerted somewhere. Documents waiting. And this German intelligence officer standing there watching with a clinical interest like Vincent was specimen under microscope. Stay out of my way, of course. Richter stepped aside, gestured toward building entrance like maitre d' showing guest to table. Please continue. Pretend I am not here. Vincent entered the building, corridor dark, lit only by single bulb at far end. Voices ahead, German, two men talking casual about leave schedules and beer rations, guards in main office 20 feet from document storage room. He could not avoid them. Only route to target went through their position. He assessed options, counted heartbeats. Searchlight would complete cycle in 28 seconds. When it swept entrance and found dead guards, alarm would sound. He needed documents and distance before that happened. No time for subtlety, no time for perfect execution. Sometimes good enough had to be good enough. Vincent stepped into office doorway. Two guards, both seated, rifles leaning against the desk. Both looked up, recognized he was not SS. Started to rise, hands reaching for weapons. Vincent threw the KA bar. He had never practiced knife throwing. Stefan had taught that butchers do not throw their tools. It damages the edge, warps the balance, wastes time sharpening. But distance was 12 feet and target was center mass, and he needed disruption, not precision. The blade tumbled once, hit the first guard's shoulder instead of chest. Not a kill shot, not even disabling, just painful enough to make the man scream. High-pitched, terrified. The sound echoed through building like alarm bell. 51 seconds. Guards outside would hear. Would come running. Timeline compressed to nothing. Vincent's hands found second guard's throat. Drove thumbs into windpipe, felt cartilage collapse. The man thrashed, strong, trained, fighting back with everything he had, hands clawing at Vincent's wrists, drawing blood, creating noise. 10 seconds of struggle before the thrashing stopped. 10 seconds too long. First guard was on his feet, shoulder wound bleeding but not incapacitating, reaching for rifle. Vincent pulled the KA bar from the man's shoulder. Open femoral artery with single practice cut. The guard sat down hard, eyes wide with confusion. 90 seconds of consciousness remaining, but legs would not work. Would never work again. 58 seconds total, two guards remaining somewhere responding to the scream. Vincent moved to storage room, door locked. He kicked it open. Stealth was finished. Speed was everything now. Speed and violence of action and hoping luck held just a little longer. The room contained filing cabinets, dozens of them. He pulled nearest drawer. Personnel files, wrong section, tried another. Supply manifests, wrong again. Documents he needed would be classified separately, hidden, protected. He scanned the room, saw steel safe in corner, half concealed by tarp. Combination lock. No time to crack it. No time for finesse. Vincent grabbed fire axe from emergency station and hallway, returned to safe, swung axe into lock mechanism. Once, twice, metal screaming. Third swing cracked the housing. Fourth swing tore it completely free. Door swung open. Inside. Document folders marked with SS insignia, camp transfer records, prisoner transport schedules, and beneath them 3 manila envelopes stamped with red classification markings. The evidence, the proof, the reason for 9 dead Germans. Vincent grabbed them, shoved them into satchel, footsteps in corridor, running. 2 guards responding into the scream and axe impacts. Final obstacles between mission success and escape. 63 seconds, 2 guards remaining and alerted. Vincent turned as they entered. Both had rifles up. Both fired, rush shots, poor light. Target moving, rounds went high, punched through wall behind where Vincent had been standing. But third shot caught him. Bullet grazed his left shoulder, burned across muscle. Not deep, not disabling, but painful and bleeding. Hot wetness spreading down his arm. Information, pain, processing. Vincent dropped low, rolled behind filing cabinets, came up with well-rod pistol, suppressed barrel tracking first guard, fired twice. Center mass. Guard went down. Second guard was smarter. Ducked back into corridor, shouted for reinforcements. German words echoing, calling entire garrison. 67 seconds, maybe 30 seconds until soldiers arrived in force, until mission became suicide. Vincent moved to window, kicked it open, glass shattering, dropped 12 feet to ground outside, left shoulder screaming, blood-soaking jacket, but mobile, functional, still capable. Behind him, compound alarm began to wail. Searchlights swept ground frantically. Dogs barking, guards shouting, sound of vehicles starting. 200 soldiers mobilizing to hunt one man. But figure appeared from shadows near the fence. Richter, holding wire cutters, actually helping like he had promised. This way, quickly. Why are you helping? Because I gave my word, and because I want you to succeed. Your technique deserves to survive war. Richter cut through fence, created opening. Vincent hesitated. Could be trap. Could be Richter delivering him to garrison. But no choice, no time, no alternative that did not end in death or capture. He ran through the gap. Richter handed him something. Small notebook, leather-bound, pages visible in moonlight covered with diagrams and notes. My observations. 9 kills. Complete analysis. Technical diagrams. I have documented your method. When war ends, ensure this reaches proper military authorities. Ensure technique is taught correctly, with precision, with respect for its origins. Why? Because innovation deserves acknowledgement. Because you are craftsmen applying civilian trade to military necessity. Because your butcher shop technique will save thousands of Allied soldiers. That matters more than which side wins temporary conflict. Vincent took the notebook, ran toward Forest. Behind him, Stalag 7A's garrison mobilized. Searchlights, dogs, vehicles. 200 soldiers hunting one wounded American with documents that would hang 12 SS officers at Nuremberg. But Vincent had the evidence, had completed mission, 73 seconds of execution, 9 guards dead, objective achieved, except he was wounded and bleeding, and had 200 Germans between him and extraction point 6 miles away through enemy territory. Vincent moved through Forest, left shoulder on fire, blood loss making him dizzy, vision blurring at edges, 2 hours until extraction, 6 miles through darkness, wounded, pursued, hunted by professionals who knew terrain better than he did. German search parties spread through woods, dogs barking closer, flashlights sweeping, professional manhunt, organized, methodical, inevitable. Vincent used every evasion technique OSS had taught, moved through streams to break scent trail, changed direction randomly, doubled back, created false trails. But blood loss was slowing him, hands shaking, coordination degrading. Mickey's face appeared in his mind, Mickey bleeding out, Mickey dying wrong. This could not be how Vincent died. Not after killing 9, not after retrieving documents, not after everything. He tore strips from his jacket, bound shoulder wound, pressure, elevation. Basic field medicine Stefan had taught from his World War I experience. The bleeding slowed, not stopped, but manageable. Vincent forced himself to keep moving, one foot in front of other, mechanical, automatic, survival. 3 hours later, he reached extraction point. OSS team was waiting, saw him stumble out of tree line, caught him before he fell. You get them, team lead asked. Vincent handed over satchel. Documents inside. 3 facilities. Evidence for Nuremberg. And you are bleeding. Just graze. Vincent's vision was swimming. 9 guards down. All clean. Technique worked. He passed out. Woke 2 days later in Allied Field Hospital. Left shoulder bandage. Blood transfusion. Antibiotics for infection. Alive against odds that should have killed him. The documents had reached Allied intelligence within 24 hours. Confirmed locations of 3 extermination facilities. British forces reached sites within a week. Found gas chambers. Found crematoriums. Found mass graves. Found evidence that would convict 12 SS officers at Nuremberg. Found proof of horrors that needed documentation. That needed witnesses. That needed justice. Vincent's name never appeared in any report. The OSS filed Operation Stalag 7A as successful intelligence retrieval conducted by unnamed operative. Classified, secret, anonymous. Exactly how Vincent wanted it. April 1945. The war was ending. Everyone could feel it. Germany collapsing from both sides. Soviets from east. Americans and British from west. Just matter of time now. Days or weeks, but not months. The OSS filed paperwork, mission reports, casualty assessments, recommendations for commendations. Colonel Harrison recommended Vincent for Silver Star. Recommendation denied. OSS operations were classified. Medals required public documentation of actions that could not be made public. Security took precedence over recognition, secrecy over honor. Instead, Vincent received promotion to lieutenant and reassignment to training operations, teaching new OSS recruits infiltration techniques, how to move behind enemy lines, how to extract intelligence, how to survive when the survival seemed impossible. But he never taught Stefan's technique, never showed anyone the vascular geography or precision cuts, or how to drop a man in 90 seconds. That knowledge stayed private, personal, sacred, between him and Stefan and the 23 Germans who died from it. 3 federal agents in suits came to his temporary quarters 2 weeks after the mission. War Crimes Investigation Division. They had photographs, crime scene images from Stalag 7A, 9 bodies, close-ups of wounds, medical examiner notes, German confusion documented in official reports. Lieutenant Kovacs, first agent opened briefcase. German doctors who performed autopsies were confused. Knife wounds consistent with surgical precision. Vascular injuries that caused massive hemorrhage but minimal external trauma. How does single operative kill 9 guards without alerting compound? Vincent looked at photographs, saw his handiwork, saw Stefan's lessons applied with perfect fidelity, said nothing. Some answers could not be given. Some knowledge could not be shared. We need to know if this technique can be documented, codified, taught to other operatives. The agent leaned forward. Intelligence suggests this could revolutionize close quarters combat, reduce casualties, increase mission success rates. We are prepared to offer significant compensation for your cooperation. It cannot be taught. Not really. Why not? Because it is not something you teach in classroom. It requires feel, judgment, understanding that comes from working with your hands 7 years. You cannot put it in manual, cannot demonstrate it on training. Dummy, it is craft, not science. We would pay well. $30,000 per year. Consultant position. You would teach anatomy to special operations personnel, show them vascular geography, where to cut for maximum effect with minimum sound. 30,000 was twice what Vincent's father made in decade at steel mills. Enough to buy house, start family, live comfortably. But accepting meant teaching Stefan's knowledge to soldiers, meant turning tradecraft into military curriculum, meant being responsible for whoever those soldiers killed with techniques learned in Hungarian butcher shop. I am not interested. The agents returned 3 more times. 1945, 1946. Same offers. Increasing money. Vincent refused each time. Stefan had taught him through 7 years apprenticeship, through demonstration and practice and philosophy, not through clinical instruction to soldiers who would use knowledge once and forget weight that came with it. Some things could not be taught, only learned over time, only understood through working with your hands until knowledge became part of you, became who you were. May 8, 1945. Victory in Europe. Germany surrendered unconditionally. War was over except in Pacific. Vincent received honorable discharge September 19, 45. 31 years old, veteran of 3 years combat. 23 confirmed kills using butcher shop techniques. 0 recognition except classified files that would stay sealed for decades. He kept Richter's notebook, read it during transport home. German officers' detailed analysis of Vincent's technique, diagrams of cut angles, notes on timing, observations about how civilian skills transferred to military application. Clinical, precise, respectful in its own strange way. Last entry was dated March 17, 1945, written after Vincent had escaped. The Cleveland butcher succeeded. 9 kills, 73 seconds. Perfect execution despite complications. His technique represents evolution in close quarters combat. Future generations will use his methods without knowing their origin. Such is fate of all great innovations, the creator forgotten. The creation immortal. This American deserves better. But history rarely gives men what they deserve. Vincent burned the notebook before reaching American soil. Some knowledge was not meant to be preserved in writing. Stefan had taught him through demonstration, through practice, through 7 years of apprenticeship. That was proper way to transfer skills, not through German officers' clinical observations, not through military manuals, not through classroom instruction that reduced craft to doctrine. But Richter's words stayed with him. The creator forgotten, the creation immortal. Vincent was fine with that, better than fine. Some legacies lived in silence, some knowledge passed down without names attached. Some innovations changed world while creators remained anonymous. That was enough. That was everything. That was how Stefan would have wanted it. The train rolled toward Cleveland, toward home, toward whatever came next. Vincent sat by a window watching America pass. Fields and towns and rivers. Country he had fought for. Country that would never know what he had done. Country that did not need to know. He was going home. To Stefan if uncle still lived. To family, to butcher's shop or whatever work awaited. To life after war. To forgetting if forgetting was possible. To carrying weight of 23 Germans and Stefan's question. Saint or devil healer or murderer? Vincent still had no answer. Maybe answer did not matter. Maybe only the work mattered. The protection, the brothers saved, the documents retrieved, the evidence preserved. Maybe that was enough. The train pulled into Cleveland's Union Terminal on September 23, 1945. Vincent stepped onto the platform carrying everything he owned in a single duffel bag. 3 years since he had left. Felt like 3 lifetimes. His father met him at the gate, older, grayer, thinner. 3 years in the blast furnaces while his son fought Germans. Both men scarred by their separate wars. They shook hands, did not hug. That was not how Hungarian men showed emotion. Your uncle is sick. His father's voice was flat, emotionless in the way that meant too much emotion to show. Will not be long now. Vincent's chest tightened. Stefan, the man who had taught him everything that mattered, everything that saved his life, and 23 Germans lost theirs. Dying. How long doctors say weeks, maybe days, cancer, lung, from years breathing coal smoke in the shop. They drove to Stefan's house in silence. Small bungalow in the Hungarian quarter, paint peeling, lawn overgrown. Everything looked smaller than Vincent remembered. Everything looked tired, like the whole neighborhood had aged a decade in 3 years. Vincent's aunt answered door, face aged by grief and exhaustion. Led them to bedroom where Stefan lay. The old man looked small, shrunken. Nothing like the powerful butcher who had shaped steel and taught precision and carried secrets from the Great War. Stefan's eyes opened, recognized Vincent, managed weak smile. You came back, Stefan said in Hungarian. Voice barely whisper. I was not sure you would. Promised I would. Vincent sat beside bed, held Stefan's hand. The hand that had taught him everything. The hand scarred by decades of knife work and 4 years in French trenches. Did you use what I taught you? Vincent nodded. 23 men, all clean, all precise. Like you showed me. Stefan closed his eyes. For protection, to save thousands, to end a war, to make sure evidence reached Nuremberg. Then I taught you right. Stefan's grip tightened slightly. Had strength left in those fingers after all. Violence is last resort. When necessary, be professional. No anger, no hatred, just technique. You understood. That I understood. Good. Stefan's breathing was labored, wet, lungs filling with fluid that doctors could not drain fast enough. There is something else, something I never told you. About the 50 soldiers, you do not need to, I do. Stefan opened his eyes again. Urgency there. Need to confess before time ran out. I need someone to know before I die. The 50 soldiers I trained, they killed 300 Germans, clean, silent, just like I taught them. No suffering, professional. But 300 men died because I taught those skills. You saved Allied soldiers. Maybe. Stefan's eyes were wet. Or maybe I just taught better ways to kill. I have thought about it 30 years. Still do not know if I am saint or devil, if I am healer or murderer. 300 Germans died. Young men, fathers, sons, they died because I understood anatomy. He paused, struggling for breath, struggling for words. Now you have killed 23, using same knowledge, same techniques. Are we saints or devils, Vincent? Did we save lives or just make killing more efficient? I have carried this question 30 years. Now I give it to you. Maybe your generation will find answer I could not. Vincent had no answer. Not then, maybe not ever. Some questions lived in space between right and wrong. Some knowledge carried weight that never lifted no matter how many years passed. The knowledge is not evil, Vincent said finally. You taught me that. The man using it chooses good or evil. You chose to teach survival, to give soldiers advantage, to make deaths quick when deaths could not be prevented. That is not evil. That is mercy. Mercy. Stefan tested the word. Let it sit in the air between them. Maybe. I taught you mercy. Quick deaths. No suffering. And you passed that mercy forward. To 23 Germans who died clean. To thousands of allies who lived because enemies died silent. Maybe that is enough. Maybe that is the answer. It is enough. Vincent's voice was firm. You are healer. Always were. Stefan smiled, closed his eyes. Died 2 hours later holding Vincent's hand, September 24th, 1945. Age 71. Buried 3 days later in Hungarian cemetery with small funeral. Neighbors, family, no military honors. Stefan had requested none. Wanted to be remembered as butcher, not as combat medic, not as teacher of death. Vincent inherited the shop, inherited Stefan's boning knives, inherited the knowledge and the weight that came with knowledge, inherited Stefan's question, saint or devil, the question that had no answer but demanded asking anyway. The shop was struggling. Neighborhood had changed during war. Many families had moved to suburbs. Younger generation did not want coal boss made old way. Preferred supermarket convenience to butcher shop precision, to waiting while meat was cut to order, to knowing the man who processed what you would feed your children. Vincent kept it open through 1947, but his hands had changed, or maybe the work had changed. He found himself hesitating before certain cuts, feeling the resistance differently, remembering how human tissue felt compared to beef or pork, remembering 23 Germans, remembering Stefan's question with no answer. The shop closed May 1948. Vincent sold building and equipment, took job as meat cutter at Kroger supermarket, steady pay, benefits, no ownership headaches, no memories haunting every corner, just commercial transaction. Customer wanted 2 pounds of ground beef. Vincent provided 2 pounds of ground beef, simple, clean, honest, but the nightmares came, 3 or 4 times a week. Same dream with variations. Throwing the KA bar in Stalag 7A's office. The blade hitting shoulder instead of chest. The guard screaming, alert raised, mission failing. Everyone dying because Vincent's precision failed in crucial moment. Other nights he dreamed about Mickey, about leaving him wounded behind that tree, about finding him 2 days later with 14 wounds. None of them clean. Mickey dying the wrong way because Vincent had run, because he had chosen survival over brotherhood. Vincent started drinking, not heavily, not enough to affect work, but enough to quiet the dreams, enough to sleep without seeing faces, without hearing screams, without feeling resistance change as blade parted human tissue. December 1948, same 2 federal agents from before. War Crimes Investigation Division. They found him at work, waited outside Kroger until his shift ended, followed him to parking lot. Lieutenant Kovacs, first agent, fell into step beside him. We are building training programs, new conflicts emerging, Korea, Soviet expansion. We need specialists who understand close quarters combat. I am civilian now, not interested. The technique you develop saves lives. We have studied German autopsy reports from your operations. Your methods are 40% more efficient than standard training, 40% faster kills, 40% less noise. That math matters in operations. I did not develop anything. I am butcher. I just knew anatomy. Exactly. Second agent opened briefcase. Pulled out documents covered in official stamps and classifications. We want to hire you as consultant. Teach anatomy to special operations personnel. Show them vascular geography. Where to cut for maximum effect with minimum sound. We would pay $30,000 per year. That was twice what Vincent made at Kroger. Enough to buy house, start family, live comfortably. But accepting meant teaching Stefan's knowledge to soldiers. Meant turning tradecraft into military curriculum. Meant being responsible for whoever those soldiers killed using techniques that started in Hungarian butcher shop. No, the agents returned twice more. 1949, 1950, same offers. Increasing money, increasing pressure. Vincent refused each time. Stefan had taught him through 7 years apprenticeship, through demonstration and practice and philosophy, not through clinical instruction to soldiers who would use knowledge once and forget weight that came with it. Some things could not be taught, only learned over time, only understood through working with hands until knowledge became part of you, became who you were, became burden you carried rest of your life. Vincent met Catherine Romano in 1951 at church, Hungarian Catholic. She was Italian Catholic from 3 neighborhoods over. Different immigrant community, but same working class background. Her father ran hardware store. She worked as secretary at Republic Steel administrative offices. They met after Mass. Kate had noticed the quiet Hungarian man who came alone every Sunday, who never talked to anyone, who prayed with intensity that suggested he was asking forgiveness for something specific, something heavy. Coffee, she asked one Sunday, just coffee. Vincent agreed. They talked, small talk at first. Where are you from? What do you do? Then deeper topics, family, war, loss. Kate did not ask details about his service, understood from his silence that details were private, sacred, not for sharing with strangers, even attractive ones. Vincent appreciated that, appreciated not having to explain or justify or relive, appreciated someone who understood silence could be answer, that some questions had no good responses, that some experiences left marks words could never describe. They married October 1952, small ceremony, both families, few friends. Vincent was 38, Kate was 29, old for first marriage by 1950s standards, but both had been waiting, looking for a person who understood, who could live with silence, who could love despite weight carried from past. Kate knew about the nightmares, would wake when Vincent woke, would hold him, would not ask what he had dreamed, just provided presence, comfort, reminder that he was home, that war was over, that whatever he had done was past even if it lived in present every night. They bought small house in Garfield Heights, working class neighborhood, tree-lined streets, children playing stickball, normal American life, the kind Vincent had fought for, the kind 23 Germans died to prevent, the kind that was supposed to make everything worthwhile. Anna was born December 1954. Dark hair like Kate, quiet temperament like Vincent, perfect blend of both families. Vincent held his daughter that first time and understood why Stefan had taught him, why the knowledge mattered. Because Anna existed in a world where violence was possible, where predators existed, where good men needed to know how to protect. But Vincent would never teach Anna the techniques, would never show her vascular geography or precision cuts, would let her grow up thinking her father was just meat cutter, just working class Hungarian immigrant son who processed beef and came home for dinner every night. Some knowledge ended with the generation that carried it. That was proper. That was right. That was how it should be. What Vincent did not know was that his technique was spreading, not through his teaching, through osmosis, through study of German autopsy reports, through analysis by military physicians who could not understand how Allied operatives were killing with such precision. 1952, Army Special Operations Training Manual was revised. New section added on vascular targeting and close quarters combat, emphasis on specific arteries, specific angles, specific timing, no attribution to source, just noted as field innovations from European theater. Vincent never saw the manual, never knew his butcher shop knowledge had become official doctrine. 1957. Marines adopted similar techniques. Training focused on anatomy, on understanding blood flow and pressure, on making cuts that killed fast with minimal sound. Instructors taught without knowing techniques originated with Hungarian butcher's apprentice, who learned on livestock, 1963. Special Forces expanded curriculum, added detailed diagrams of human vascular system, taught soldiers to think like surgeons, to understand physiology, to apply medical knowledge with lethal precision. Each iteration refined technique, added improvements, corrected minor inefficiencies. But core remained Stefan's lessons, unchanged, unchangeable, because anatomy was fixed, physics was fixed. Geometry of flesh and blood did not change regardless of who taught it or how it was labeled. November 1963, man came to Vincent's house, introduced himself as Dr. Robert Caldwell, military historian from Case Western Reserve University, researching OSS operations in Bavaria. Your name appears in declassified documents. Dr. Caldwell was young, earnest, excited by history like it was puzzle to solve rather than lives lived and lost. Operation Stalag 7A, March 1945. Intelligence retrieval, 9 German guards eliminated. Can you tell me about it? Vincent invited him inside, made coffee, answered factually but without detail, confirmed dates, locations, objectives, declined to discuss methodology. Some things were not for academic papers. Some knowledge was not meant for public consumption. I am trying to understand how single operative achieved what you achieved. 9 guards eliminated without alerting compound. It is unprecedented in intelligence operations. I had good training. OSS training does not cover that level of precision. Then I had good instincts. Dr. Caldwell leaned forward. Lieutenant Kovacs, I have read German autopsy reports. I have interviewed Wehrmacht medical officers who examined the bodies. They described wounds that looked minor but caused massive hemorrhage, vascular injuries delivered with surgical precision. Where did you learn that Vincent thought about Stefan? About 7 years in butcher shop, about weight his uncle had carried 30 years, about whether knowledge itself was evil or only its application. My uncle taught me anatomy. Vincent's voice was quiet. He was butcher. I was his apprentice. That is all. Dr. Caldwell published his book in 1967, 3 pages devoted to Operation Stalag 7A, called it one of the most successful infiltration operations of the war, noted that specific tactical details remain classified. Vincent's name appeared once in footnote. The book sold poorly. Vincent never read it. Kate bought copy, put it on shelf in living room. Vincent saw it there every day but never opened it. Some stories did not need to be read. They were lived. That was enough. Training manual was published 1972 by Army Special Operations Command. Section on silent elimination techniques bore striking similarity to methods Vincent had used. Emphasis on vascular targets, specific angles, timing based on human physiology, manual credited field observations from multiple operations, no attribution to specific operatives, no mention of Stefan's meat market, no recognition that techniques originated with civilian tradesmen teaching his nephew honest work. Former OSS colleague called Vincent. They are teaching your technique. Every special operations soldier learns it now. It is standard doctrine. Good, Vincent said. Maybe they will use it to save lives. You could claim credit. Get recognition. I do not want recognition. I wanted war to end. It did. He hung up. Never mentioned conversation to Kate. What was there to say that his butcher shop knowledge had become military standard? That Stefan's lessons were now taught at Fort Bragg and Quantico, that thousands of soldiers used techniques without knowing they originated with Hungarian immigrant who fled revolution and ended up teaching death alongside Kolbas. The knowledge had outlived its creators. That was what Richter had predicted. The creator forgotten. The creation immortal. Vincent was fine with that, better than fine, proud even though he would never say it aloud, never claim it publicly, never seek recognition for something that should remain anonymous. Some legacies lived in silence. Vincent retired from Kroger, 1980, at age 66, 22 years cutting meat, training new employees, maintaining precision even when hands shook from age, never discussing background unless directly asked. Even then, only vague terms. I was in OSS, intelligence work, nothing special. Customers occasionally recognized his name from Dr. Caldwell's 1967 book, asked about military service. Vincent smiled politely, changed subject, talked about weather, about Cleveland Browns, about anything except war. Spring 1997, young Marine captain knocked on door. Vincent was 83. Kate was 74. Still living in Garfield Heights house. Same house where they had raised Anna, where they had built life after war, sir. Captain was young, fit, respectful in way that suggested genuine admiration rather than required military courtesy. I am training officer at Quantico. I teach close quarters combat. The methods we use are based on your work. I wanted to meet you, to say thank you. Vincent invited him inside, made coffee, listened while Captain explained how techniques had evolved, how they had been refined, how they were now standard training for every Marine deploying to hostile environments. We have probably saved hundreds of lives. Captain's voice was earnest. Maybe thousands, because you figured out how to do it right. Vincent nodded, said little. The captain was young, enthusiastic, believed warfare could be clean, professional, technical, did not understand weight yet, did not know about Stephen's question, did not realize knowledge of killing carried price whether you used it or not. Do you have any advice? Anything I should tell Marines I train? Vincent thought about it. Thought about Stefan, thought about Mickey, thought about 23 Germans, thought about 73 seconds at Stalag 7A that had somehow become doctrine taught to thousands. Tell them to be precise. Tell them it is not about killing. It is about understanding anatomy, understanding structure, using that knowledge to end things quickly, cleanly, without unnecessary suffering. Tell them violence should be last option, but when necessary, it should be professional, controlled, no anger, no hatred, just technique. Captain wrote it down, shook Vincent's hand, left. Vincent never saw him again, but he had seen future, seen that Stefan's knowledge would outlive them both, would continue passing down through generations of soldiers who would never know it started with immigrant butcher teaching his nephew honest trade. Kate died September 1999. Cancer, 76 years old, 47 years of marriage. Vincent held her hand at the end like he had held Stefan's. Watched life leave through process he understood better than most. Medical, biological, inevitable. You were a good man, Kate whispered, her last words. Whatever you did in war, it was necessary. You came home. You lived well. You loved well. That is what matters. Vincent cried then, first time since Stefan's death 52 years earlier. Cried for Kate, for Stefan, for Mickey, for 23 Germans, for all the weight he had carried, for all the questions that had no answers. After Kate died, Vincent moved to assisted living, small apartment, few possessions, some photographs, discharge papers, one of Stefan's boning knives kept in drawer, edge still sharp after 70 years. Vincent lived quietly those last years, watched television, read newspapers, played cards with other residents. No one knew his history. To them, he was just quiet old Hungarian man who had worked meat counter most of his life, who had married Italian girl, who had raised daughter and loved grandchildren. Anna visited monthly, brought grandchildren when they were in Cleveland. Vincent told them stories about Hungary, about immigration, about building life in America, about honest work and fair prices. Never mentioned war, never mentioned Stefan's meat market, never mentioned that their grandfather's hands had changed history. Some legacies were silent. Some knowledge ended with person who carried it. Vincent was fine with that, preferred it even. Vincent died in his sleep November 8, 2003, 89 years old, heart failure, peaceful. Kate had died 4 years earlier. Stefan 58 years earlier. Mickey 60 years earlier. Now Vincent joined them, carried his secrets with him, left world without ever claiming credit for knowledge that saved thousands. The obituary in Cleveland Plain Dealer was 4 paragraphs. Mentioned his work at Kroger, his marriage to Kate, his daughter Anna, his service in U.S. Army during World War II. 1 sentence. He served with distinction in the OSS. No details, no mention of Stalag 7A, No mention of 23 Germans. No mention of technique that became standard doctrine. Small ceremony. Anna, grandchildren. Few neighbors from old Hungarian quarter who remembered. Catholic service. Vincent had specified in will. No military honors. No ceremony beyond simple burial. 3 men in their 60s attended. Stood at back, did not introduce themselves. Former OSS colleagues who had tracked Vincent through years, who knew what he had done, even if world did not. They saluted when casket was lowered. Placed something on grave after everyone left. Challenge coin, OSS insignia. Unmarked except single word engraved on reverse. Precision. 6 years after Vincent's death, military historian at Naval War College was researching silent elimination techniques for classified study. Dr. Sarah Martinez. She had spent career analyzing special operations evolution. She found 1972 training manual, traced techniques back through operational reports, found Vincent's name in declassified OSS documents, cross-referenced with German autopsy reports, interviewed the Marine captain who had visited Vincent in 1997. She calculated casualty rates before and after Vincent's techniques became standard doctrine, ran statistical analysis, conservative estimates, peer-reviewed. The numbers were staggering. Between 1945 and 2009, approximately 2,400 American and Allied Special Operations personnel had survived missions that would have failed using previous methods. Vincent's technique reduced silent elimination operation failures by 63%. His approach to vascular targeting became foundation for every close-quarters combat program in Western Military Alliance. Dr. Martinez published her findings in Classified Military Journal, January 2009. The paper spread through special operations community. Commanders read it. Training officers studied it. The name Vincent Kovacs went from footnote to legend overnight. She traveled to Cleveland, March 2009. Found building where Stefan's shop had operated. Bodega now. Windows barred. Old neighborhood unrecognizable. She interviewed elderly residents who remembered Vincent, remembered Stefan. He worked in his uncle's shop, old woman said. 94 years old. Hungarian accent still thick after 8 decades in America. Stefan taught him to butcher. Boy was good at it, had feel for work. Very precise. Very clean. Dr. Martinez understood then. The technique had not originated in military training. It had originated in practical knowledge of working-class tradesmen. It had been adapted from civilian work to military necessity. It had saved thousands because Hungarian kid learned his uncle's trade and applied that knowledge when circumstances demanded. She wrote second paper, classified, distributed only to special operations commanders. The paper argued that most effective military innovations often came not from tactical doctrine, but from individual expertise transferred from civilian contexts. That military should look for personnel with specialized hands-on skills. Mechanics, craftsmen, technicians, find ways to adapt that knowledge to operational requirements. The paper changed nothing about doctrine, but changed how some commanders viewed recruitment, started them asking different questions, looking for different backgrounds, understanding that butcher's apprentice might have more valuable knowledge than West Point graduate for certain missions. By 2010, Special Forces recruiters were specifically seeking candidates with technical civilian skills. Paramedics, EMTs, butchers, welders, auto mechanics, anyone who understood systems, who could diagnose problems, who could fix things or end things with equal precision. The shift was subtle, but real, and it traced back to Vincent Kovacs, to Stefan's meat market, to lessons taught through 7 years of working with cattle and pigs, to knowledge that started with feeding families and ended with saving soldiers. Dr. Martinez visited Vincent's grave, Holy Cross Cemetery, December 2009. Standard military headstone, name, rank, dates of service. Nothing about OSS, nothing about Stalag 7A, nothing about technique that became standard doctrine. She placed flowers on grave, stood silently, tried to imagine the man, the boy who learned butchery, the soldier who learned killing, the civilian who lived quietly, who refused recognition, who died unknown, who saved thousands without ever claiming credit. She noticed something. Fresh flowers already there. Recent. still vibrant. Cemetery groundskeeper approached. Happens every year. November 8th. Different people. Never same person twice. Been happening since he died. All of them military, special operations types. You can tell by how they stand, how they salute. Who are they? Do not know. Never ask. But they come, they pay respects. They understand something about this man that rest of us do not. Dr. Martinez understood too. Understood that every soldier trained in Vincent's techniques was walking embodiment of his legacy. That every mission that succeeded because operators knew vascular targeting was proof, his knowledge mattered. That every family who got father or son or daughter back alive owed partial debt to Hungarian butcher's apprentice. Today, special operations soldiers worldwide learn Vincent's techniques. They do not call them Kovacs methods. Do not credit Hungarian butcher's apprentice. Just learn anatomy, learn vascular geography, learn precise cuts that kill fast with minimal sound. They learn without knowing. Knowledge started with immigrant teaching Sheffield how to process hog in 8 minutes, how to follow blood, how to make clean cuts, how to respect animal and use every part. They learn without knowing their instructors to instructor. Learn from someone who analyzed German autopsy reports from 23 bodies Vincent left across Europe. The chain of knowledge is long, twisted, anonymous, but unbroken. Every November 8th, someone places fresh flowers on Vincent's grave. Different special operations veterans each year. Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, Marine Force Recon, Air Force Pararescue. All services, all branches, all understanding that man buried beneath standard military headstone changed their profession forever. They understand that Vincent Kovacs, Hungarian immigrant son, Stefan's apprentice, Mickey's brother, Kate's husband, Anna's father, quietly lived working-class life after saving thousands. That he refused every recognition, every honor, every opportunity for glory. They understand that real heroes often die unknown. That greatest innovations often come from humblest origins. That butcher's knowledge of livestock anatomy saved more soldiers than any tactical manual or strategic doctrine. They salute the headstone, place their flowers, leave in silence, carry forward the techniques, keep legacy alive even if they never learned his name. That is how innovation actually happens. Not through committees or research programs, not through engineering analysis or doctrinal review, through individuals who possess specialized knowledge and find ways to apply it when circumstances demand solutions existing systems cannot provide. Through men like Vincent Kovacs, who learned precision on livestock and translated it to combat when no other option existed, who saved thousands and sought nothing, who lived humbly and died quietly, who left world better than he found it without ever claiming credit. Some legacies are written in stone, monuments, medals, public recognition. Others are written in living flesh, in soldiers who survived, in families who got loved ones back, in techniques passed down through generations without names attached. Vincent's legacy is second kind, silent, powerful, immortal. The grave at Holy Cross Cemetery has no special marker, just name, rank, dates, nothing about OSS, nothing about Stalag 7A, nothing about 2,400 lives saved. But every November 8th, someone brings flowers. And that is enough. Remember his name, Vincent Kovacs, butcher, soldier, innovator, the man who changed warfare with knowledge learned processing meat in Cleveland's Hungarian Quarter. Remember Stefan Kovacs, combat medic, teacher, the man who understood same hands could heal or kill depending on intention, who carried question without answer for 30 years, saint or devil, healer or murderer. Remember Michael Walsh, brother, soldier, the friend whose death drove Vincent to refine techniques, to make sure others died clean when dying could not be prevented. Remember them not for killing, but for understanding that when killing was unavoidable, it should be professional, precise, respectful, quick, clean, no unnecessary suffering. Remember them for teaching that knowledge itself is neutral, that same skills feeding families could protect soldiers. That civilian expertise transferred to military necessity when circumstances demanded. Remember them for changing history while seeking no credit. That is legacy. That is honor. That is what matters. The flowers keep coming. Every November 8th, different hands, same respect, same understanding, same silence. And somewhere in whatever place Hungarian immigrants and their apprentices go after death. Stefan knows. The knowledge mattered. The question had answer after all. Not saint, not devil, just men doing necessary work in hard times. Just craftsmen applying skills when world needed them most. Just teachers passing knowledge forward even when knowledge carried weight. That is enough. That was always enough. That will always be enough.